playing Space Invaders.
Frogger,
right? I've been playing Frogger. My turn. Hold on, I'm driving the car. You know.
What was the one with
It's a whole
like a
different
football
thing. Yeah,
with the dots?
Yeah, that was exciting, right? The path.
And it goes
Yeah. That was. Yeah, I can't imagine, right? Because we had to wait our turn, right? It was like 2-player. Hold on, I go first.
Put your quarter down.
Down.
Or a pinball machine when you get more than one
player.
player.
Just watch somebody else do this. This goes back to watching Twitch and watching people play video games.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that, but I remember going to the Dairy Queen on Essex Ave in Hackensack, and it had a Space Invaders machine and an Astros machine, and I remember sitting there, after my money ran out, just watching, crowding around to watch somebody else play. Mm-hmm. But here I am saying, I don't understand these kids watching. Well, I just realized that I'm an idiot. I'm a hypocrite.
If they were really good, like Dragon's Lair. We always hang around there.
We used to wait in line.
Which one is Dragon's Lair?
That was the one with the Laserdisc one.
The Laserdisc?
Yeah, it was.
Wait a second.
You have to be 70 to know that.
Laserdisc.
Yeah, it was.
What is that?
It was Don Bluth animated video game.
Wow.
Really?
It had a Laserdisc. Yeah, and you would have to. It was kind of predetermined on rails and stuff, but you had to you were this knight and you had to rescue the princess and fight the dragon, and it was all this castle had all sorts of crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game.
Dragon Slayer.
I
can find it on YouTube.
Sure
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, they've got a full Let's Play video of somebody doing it successfully all the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it was really hard to do because you had to move the
I'm
joystick.
sorry. So
just
I
the right
have a
time.
Laserdisc. Do I need? It's connected to a monitor and a console.
It was an arcade game.
It was an arcade game.
Yeah.
Oh.
I imagine they had it for home games eventually. You could probably play it on. Probably play it on your phone now.
Don Bluth, huh?
Don Bluth, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really well animated.
Okay. Look at this. Now I'm curious. Now I'm interested.
I don't know. In communist country, in Soviet, right?
Our video game was staring at the sky and
our
watching
video game
the
was
sun
a pinball
go. Right.
Where's Yakov Smirnoff?
Yeah. Oh, is he still alive? He's still alive.
He is.
Yeah, he's done well from what
So, I mean,
He's playing Vegas.
he bought a theater in Branson.
Did he really?
Yeah, and then he bought a bunch of condos. He was selling people packages, like you stay in his condo, and then you see the show.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's done some show today. I looked him up recently, but
I looked him up recently.
yeah, because I was curious. I'm like,
right.
what do you do when your whole career is making fun of Soviet Union?
Yeah.
And
And then they fell apart, and you go like, well, there goes my career.
Yeah.
It's like, in Russia.
In Soviet Russia, the
Back
TV is
when I was
watching
a
you,
kid, right,
and
yeah,
now
yeah,
it is. Who knew there was a prophet? Like all this stuff came true.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's like, yeah, the TV is watching you now.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And you don't really have to be in Soviet Russia.
Smirnoff.
Yeah. It's a great name.
Smirnoff was the vodka,
Well,
right?
yeah.
It's the vodka, yeah.
But that was his joke.
Yeah.
Like, what a country. I come out of the airport and my name's...
You know a little too much about
yeah.
Yakov. I mean, it's routine.
a big fan.
He was in commercials and everything. He was
Yeah, he had a
enormous.
good career.
Yeah. He and Charo. Remember them? I don't know. It's I'm trying to think. I guess we have these internet stuff. See, here's the thing. You can mention Yakov Smirnoff to somebody of a certain age, and everybody knows him. Whereas now, you might be into something that I have no idea about whatsoever. No clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, that communal thing is gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Though you still have community. So we might not be the people you could talk to, but you'll find people.
Yeah.
You'll probably find more people than you certainly could have when we were. I mean, if you didn't have somebody who liked the same things that you liked, who grew up near you, you were screwed.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that
screwed.
Like, you want to do role playing, you can't find people near you, or they're
LARPing.
not LARPing.
I don't even know what that is.
Not LARPing.
LARPing?
LARPing you still got to go out
Okay.
for. That's
What is
but
that?
you can,
I'm like,
okay.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a live action
role
role
playing.
playing. Right? Yeah.
where you actually
How do you not know this? Come on, how do
Because
I
I
know?
like to do stuff.
That's it. That's what LARPing is.
LARPing is the active person's D&D. So
So me getting in my kayak going down the rapids.
I was going to say, there's really you and your friends doing that. There's really no difference. That's
Instead, you're throwing imaginary fireballs at people.
Yeah, well, this weekend as I'm going down, I'll be throwing stuff up in the air.
No, I have a bunch of friends that LARP, but if you don't have time or a car, because a lot of my friends that LARP don't have a car. So they have to.
What are they, 5? Who do you hang out with?
Right. So anyway, but a lot of people role play online now with people they found,
But how? Do they?
It's a lot of times
there's an avatar or something.
Yeah, there's an electronic interface, and you have the headset. Yeah. There's a app that rolls the dice for you. And then
you have to be that lazy. You can't even roll your own dice.
No, but this way the other people could see.
I was going to say everybody can see that you rolled.
Yeah, they can see what you rolled. Otherwise, you'd be like, "Hey, I rolled
a 7.
I rolled the perfect score."
You have to trust me.
I won.
20 is the high.
20, okay.
20.
Yeah.
20 is a.
Not snake eyes.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to get into that nerdy.
Okay, here it is. Snake eyes is bad.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can find lots more people online that share your interests,
right?
Than possibly were around,
Yeah,
before
where you grew up, sure, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You have to go on mymomsbasement.com.
Yeah. But it's funny, I mean, and these are huge. There's a huge number of people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is a community we would be shocked to know how many people are involved and how many people love it.
Yeah.
And there you have it. And so there's no communal thing, but there is.
Yeah.
But there is.
Yeah.
I mean, for the people who were in that club, it's just that I think there were fewer clubs back when we were growing up, and we were kind of aware of what they were.
Well,
whereas now they're off. Like you didn't know what LARPing was, and there are people whose lives are devoted to that, and that is where they get the most fulfillment and the most joy doing that, and you have not ever heard of it.
No, and I was shocked to find out about furries too. I was like, what? What is that?
That's it. I'm shocked that Boris was that you didn't know, right?
Well, it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I was teaching a class at Montclair. It was probably more than a few years ago, and one of the girls in the class worked somewhere where she had a costume of a dog, and she brought it in, and they were shooting in a hallway in Calcia. And there was some goofy story for the project, and there was another person, I forget what the heck we didn't know. She came up to the person in the dog outfit and invited her to some party, and then walked away. So I was just watching them work, so I wasn't involved in anything. And later on, she was a little freaked out. She's like, I just got invited to a furry party. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Because the other person assumed that she's wearing a costume.
Right.
She's into it.
She's one of us, right?
And she was freaked out. Right? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What party?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever rocks your boat, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah. Hey,
as long as you're not hurting anyone. Good for you.
I was going to say. So
you enjoy your costumes.
Do your thing. Do your thing. Yeah. I don't know. And so that's a whole different thing. And I try to just have respect for people who,
well, it's different.
Something different.
But going back to what we're talking about, you went to school a day after, like, whatever, Thursday with Seinfeld would be on, and everybody talked about Seinfeld.
Everybody talked about Seinfeld.
Because that was the only thing, for the most part.
Right.
But now you can't, that doesn't exist, unless it's like
funny.
one show or something.
I used to teach at the New York Film Academy, and I used to teach a screenwriting class. So I would find one film that everybody saw. And so we had kids from New York who were there, kids from New Jersey, and a lot of international kids. Mm-hmm. So it was one film for a number of years I was assured that everybody saw in the class, and that was Rocky.
I know. You were going to bring that
That's
up.
Right.
I still have not seen Rocky.
See?
Wow.
You had one job. You had one job.
The 20 years since you're...
So I was thinking...
Because you went off on me.
That was it. That's it.
Because I still hadn't seen Rocky.
And it's been 20 years.
What?
And I still haven't seen Rocky.
So I was in class just the other day, and it was, I think it was just screenwriting. So I was trying to find a movie. I was like, okay, well, you remember Back to the Future? I was like, how many of you have seen Back to the Future? Class of 23, hands go up. Only 3. Okay. So we're doing something else, and I'm showing him something on screen, and it had the movie Titanic. was talking about the characters and how to write a log line. You know, how do you summarize the movie? So I said, okay, Titanic. And how many of you saw Titanic? And I said, 4 hands go up. What's going on here, right? And so then I go, okay, I see Harry Potter there, and I know deep in my head I have a little problem. I've not seen any of the Harry Potter movies. Now, I've figured out, this is the first time publicly outside of a couple of classes I've admitted this.
I've never seen them.
I've not. Tried to watch the first one, the Chris Columbus one, and when the kid starts getting all these letters and they fly out of the fireplace, I literally turned it off and went, this is like a kid. I had no interest in seeing this movie. No, none whatsoever. And so I saw on this, we were looking at these different movies on the sheet and talking about them, and I saw, okay, Harry Potter. If these kids have not seen Back to the Future, if they haven't seen Titanic, surely the first Harry Potter, because my kid's 16,
it's too old for
he's seen these movies, and he's seen them again and again. Harry Potter.
Nothing. Crickets.
4 hands go, you haven't seen? And one of them said, didn't that come out? I go, is this where you tell me you were in like middle school? And we're trying to figure out when the first one came out. And I go, yeah, but what about the later ones? Don't you have an older brother and sister? Didn't you go back? And so I kind of went on, and at some point in my head I started thinking I need to go. I said, and I told them the Rocky story. I said, I used to be able to find one film that everybody saw.
You can't do that anymore.
Now I can't do this anymore.
I do the same thing.
I can't do this. I'm trying to
use
think Toy Story or something.
Example that, like I would use the montage sequence from Rocky, thinking
yeah.
that on a million different Rockies you have to show montage sequence for anything. And yeah, it's the same thing. It's like 3-4 people know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. So
it's weird because you can watch anything streaming.
Right.
They don't watch anything that's over like 2 years old.
Well, I'm trying to even think something.
It is hard to get
something recent that they've all seen because everything is so separate and everybody's in their own little silo.
Yeah.
There are very few communal things that they have that we can share. I mean, I'm not, maybe Avengers or something, or I said this at a class once and said Black Panther, and a number of them saw it. I was like, okay, I guess I'll use Black Panther, but I don't want to use an action film or a superhero film. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to watch it again and break it down and kind of use Black Panther because that's one that everybody's seeing. So then in all of my classes now, I'm trying to see if there's a film that I'm unaware of that they've all seen. I don't know.
They have to do like a survey.
Yeah.
Maybe the last 20 films you've seen or something like that.
Chris sent me a survey that he gives to kids' first day of class. He teaches high school, it's a little bit different. And just to kind of find out where they come from, what movies they like, what actors they like.
Chris.
The other
Chris,
right,
not this
right.
Chris with one S. And he sends me a page from and my favorite actor, and this kid deserves A+ because he put Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, the hedgehog.
I'm like, I know you're gonna have a wise guy in the class who's gonna try to bust chops.
Right. Chris, right. Chris Corey's going to have his...
So you're going to
he's
go
gonna have
through
himself
and now it's
as
okay.
Leonardo DiCaprio, look at that. Tom Hanks. And these are good choices. Right, yeah, that's right. And
Jeremy
Ronald Reagan.
I always thought the more impressive actors were the actresses that acted against Ron Jeremy.
Right. Against.
That's cruelty.
Fake attraction.
But they were excited. You get to work with a star. Anybody.
Look, no one said you're going to like
it's
your
true,
job.
No, I'm saying anytime you get to work with a star, that's part of the problem.
Everyone's a star in that industry. You can't be a regular actor. You're a star immediately.
Yeah. But it's funny how... obviously we're talking about porn, but it extends. It extends outside of that. There's something about being around somebody famous in your field, and it's this aphrodisiac of just being around them. You just feel everything they do is special. Like, oh my God, look, they ordered coffee.
Unless you mean I don't care.
No?
Zero.
Really?
Zero.
What about you?
Famous teachers? No.
No? Come on, there has to be a famous LARPer. No,
famous LARPer.
No,
there has to be somebody who you'd be excited to. If they were next to you doing something.
Yeah, I don't get panty. Oh, okay.
What did you just say?
I don't get like panty.
Oh, panty. I don't get panty.
Panty.
don't wear panties at all.
I will say, okay,
like
so
Engelbert
I'm
Humperdinck,
going to tell a story about
old ladies throwing their panties.
That's Tom Jones.
It's Tom Jones, right? It's, you know.
we went to a horror convention, and they had Lou Ferrigno there.
Wow, the original Hulk.
Yeah. And you don't realize just how big he is.
Is he really?
First of all, he's really tall.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I mean,
6'5" or something.
Yeah,
He's tall.
I didn't think he was that tall.
Right, he's much smaller on that.
Yeah,
TV,
yeah.
13-inch black and white.
Right, how big was Bill
Hulk
Bixby?
is he's
Was it
small.
Bill
Big Bill's
Bixby?
with 2-inch tall.
Yeah, I was
Bill
going to
Bixby
say.
and,
Right.
Lou Ferrigno, yeah.
Yeah,
And there was
but
a
how
demi
tall
Hulk.
was he? I thought there was. I don't know why. I guess maybe there was a big size difference. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Nice
after the convention, everybody's going to the bar and having fun, and so the celebrities that we're signing, a lot of them go and hang out with the regular people, and so my wife goes up to get a drink, and as she's at the bar waiting, I'm next to her, and Lou Ferrigno walks up behind her, like at the bar to order a drink, and she was like, oh. She gets very excited about this, but she was like, look, it's Lou Ferrigno. She's really excited, and I was like, he can't hear you.
Right, that guy's profoundly deaf, right?
So she's always been pissed at me for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets very excited for me, you know.
Yeah. See,
So,
but you didn't.
I mean, it was cool to see him.
Yeah.
I'm always afraid my my celebrity heroes, disappointing,
They let you down.
being jerks.
Yeah.
So I don't want to meet anybody.
I saw him at the firehouse once.
Yeah.
In Venice Beach.
Yeah.
For Leon's wedding.
Okay.
I flew out.
Wait,
it was
I'm
right
sorry,
after Sandy.
The firehouse.
It's a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
In Venice Beach.
I'm sitting
But
there
it's
waiting.
right next to the Gold's Gym.
I had no idea. It's just funny.
Yeah,
there.
it's a firehouse.
Yeah, I saw him at the firehouse, and
So-
they're like, "Yeah." I'm like,
Nice drop.
"I'm sorry. What
Yeah, what are you
firehouse
talking
is
about?
this?"
I'm doing the thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Go along.
He's
Oh,
a volunteer fireman
right.
on
Yeah, I
Saturdays.
didn't realize this. Okay, hey, Lou
So-
Ferrigno in the house, right? Yeah.
I flew out right after Sandy.
Yeah.
And my house got hit by 2 trees.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
so I left Jamie to take care of
Yeah.
that. Well, I'm
Yeah,
flying
yeah,
out to the
right,
wedding.
right.
Barely got to the
I gotta
airport.
go to a
Everything's
wedding.
flooded. It's like, I don't know how, like I almost missed the flight. So his wedding is in the afternoon. What am I going to do all morning? Just hanging out there. So I'm like, let me drive down to the beach. So I go to Venice. Yeah, let me check out, the Gold's Gym and
Right.
all that stuff. I'm walking around, but freak show. So I go to the firehouse to get breakfast, and I look in the mirror because I'm at the bar talking to a couple people there, and I just look in the mirror. It's Lou Ferrigno right behind.
Right behind you.
So I'm like, hey, there's Hulk.
There's Hulk, right? You're not green.
Oh, you know who I was excited to see? We went to California, and we took a tour of Sonoma, and they took us to a really nice deli for lunch, and we're ordering our lunches, and I look over and I see someone whose name I don't know, but I know it now, but I didn't know it then, but I knew what he was in, and it was Michael Berryman, and you probably don't know who it is, but he's played a mutant, most notably in Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, the weird looking
The
dude.
really
with like
weird
a
looking dude. He has no hair.
Shaved head
He has
or
no.
alopecia. Is that
Yeah,
alopecia?
yeah. He has no fingernails.
Wow.
He has no hair or
No
any,
eyebrows,
like,
no nothing,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
all that. So and he's just sitting there reading Variety with like his
With
glasses,
glasses.
readers
Oh,
on,
wow.
and I was like, this is weird. But no one was talking to him, and I don't like to bother famous people, but I figured I'd say hello.
I'm in Sonoma.
Yeah. So I figured it's like, hey, how you doing? And so I've got some pictures with him. It was nice.
Oh, you got pictures. Look at you. Pull out your phone and did the whole thing. Right.
Well, this was before phones.
Oh,
It
okay.
was
Actual camera, a sketchbook.
actual camera.
Can't
I
hit
was
to
gonna
draw a
say-
picture.
Either that or a
Just
disposable
sketches.
one was in one of those.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Kodak
yeah.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. I tend to scream when I see him, like, hey, Tom Hanks! That kind of thing, that.
You like the
kind
Kramer thing?
Yeah. Hey, that kind of.
As you drop hot coffee
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think who have I. We went to see Carmen Jones, right, which is the opera, the black version of Carmen, right? So we went into the
Let's
city.
see how to change the name.
It's Carmen Jones. Right? It's really fabulous. Right?
Yeah, very
It's really
creative.
It is. It
Name
was a
change.
great movie from the 30s, 40s, if I'm not mistaken. so there was a play in New York, and so I said, "Oh, let's go see." So we went to go see, and it was in the round. So we were sitting in these chairs. It was almost like a high school gym, the kind of benches we were on, and the actors were like behind us and doing something. It was really exciting, and we all sat down, and you walk across the stage to go sit down, and we're there, and suddenly John McWhorter comes in. John McWhorter's a linguist. He's a professor at Columbia.
You're the only one to recognize him.
I get so excited I see him. He writes for The Atlantic. He's one of these, like a public intellectual who talks about different things. I've been following him. I listen to him. He's been on Freakonomics. He's interviewed everywhere. He's been on Colbert. All of this kind of stuff. As soon as I see him, I know who he is, and I'm like, "Hey, John McWhorter. Hey, I'm Chris Williams. Nice to meet you. It's my son Trim. Is my wife Lori." And he's like, "Hey, great. Enjoy the show." And he's just sitting right there.
Who is this weird person?
So now, whenever he's on, I'm like, "Hey, there's our friend John McWhorter." I was so excited. Like, oh my, after we're walking down, it was like, "Oh, it was a great show." Then we had a great dinner. I was like, "And I got to meet John McWhorter." It's like, I love this guy, and my family's like, he doesn't do anything. I was like, he's a professor. He's a smart guy.
He's a janitor from
I was
NYU.
like, dude, this is like, come on, are you kidding me?
I'm not impressed with celebrities unless they could do something.
Yeah. Unless
Like
for you.
Yeah,
just
we have a friend
for him.
who's her brother is part of the cast on Jersey Boys.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah.
So we got tickets and we went to see him one night when he was playing, and then after the show he gave us a tour of the theater.
Oh, really?
It was really nice.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I saw Jersey Boys on a cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was
that's a high quality production.
It was. It's funny because you look at the actors where they went to school, where they trained. I mean, it used to be, but I think on a lot of these shows because they pay money.
Yeah.
And it's a way to perform.
good
You don't
deal,
get a touring job, and it's
This guy's wife.
Yeah.
Is on the touring company.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how they do it because she's
Sure,
on
she's
tour
up there,
and he's
yeah.
over here,
Right.
working constantly. But yeah, and he used to be on tour, and I think that's where they met. But yeah, so
Yeah, that's a hard thing. But the show was like, hey, in New Jersey, this is how we do it. And I'm sitting there, I'm on an Alaskan cruise. I'm like in, Ketchikan, Alaska. And I'm sitting there with everybody from the West Coast. Hey, in Jersey, this is what we do. Here, you don't get by like that here in Jersey. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. It's just like every bad stereotype. Hey, in Belleville, this is how it works. You're under a street light and you're crooning. You're singing the song. You're singing doo-wah. But there was this one guy with the voice of an angel. His name was Frankie Valli. It's like, I'm like, this works. I'm like,
if they can get
this really works.
a guy that can sing in that,
could sing that range and up there and whatever that
Yeah.
register is. I don't know anything about music, right? But boy, like bigger stronger and hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
It was just hit after hit. Great story. Although everybody, it's one of those stories where, everybody has their story to tell. I left the band, but I came back. It's like, I think it's like the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like they all got back, the band gets back together. It's like,
They'll hate each other.
I left the band. I watched the show.
But then I needed the
I was
money.
laughing my ass off, I was like, okay. But I want to see the Clint Eastwood movie because I heard he did some different things with it about how the actors were moving in and out of the space and all of that
See,
stuff.
I didn't see it.
The movie was good.
Yeah. So now I want to see it. Now I'm fascinated by it after I saw it. I was like, okay, now I know why it's a hit. And again, it's one of those jukebox musicals where it's like song after song after song.
Yeah.
And you go, I love this song.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
And then there's songs that I didn't know they sang.
Then no idea.
Like,
Yep, I was sitting there. My wife and son. It was like 10:30, and I was like, "Hey, you guys ready to go?" They're like, "We're tired." I'm like, "Well, I'm going." So I went. I got a drink. I'm sitting there. I got my seat. The woman sitting next to me. We're just singing along, having a good old time. I was like, "Hey, it's from Jersey," and I'm like, I'm from Jersey. Like, this is how we go. We're from Belleville. I go, I live right next to Belleville.
You had to leave New Jersey, go to Alaska to see guys pretending to be from New Jersey.
Right. These guys, where are you from? Nebraska? I imagine this is how they talk. Right. So.
They'll think it's that in Jersey Shore.
Yeah. And
then they throw the Joe Pesci in.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. That's right, because he kind of...
A friend of a friend.
Yeah.
got Joe Pesci's number and like called him.
Mm-hmm.
What, the prank call?
Yeah, prank called him.
Oh my god!
But he was so stunned, he was like, "Hello?" He was like, "Is this Joe Pesci?" And he's like, "Yeah, who the fuck is this?" So his friend just hung up.
Oh my god! Couldn't even make a phony phone call.
Yeah, put Albert in the can. Let him out.
I'm dead. I'm a dead man. I'm in the trunk.
right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I would love to put together like a musical show. I have no idea how they start that. We have a theater area, and I see the director, sitting at a table with the actors, kind of reading through everything. Like that's something I would love to
Well, then you have a choreographer
direct a show with actors. I love directing actors, but like that seems like such a massive endeavor to do it. But I'm sure it's like a film. You're never directing a whole thing. You're
pieces.
bit by bit by bit, and then you put it together, and and then the actors have their work to do.
Yeah, and they have to remember.
Yeah. But boy, oh boy, I would love to do that. I want to do that. Have you ever directed a play or anything like that?
But I work with a lot of people in theater, but it'd be fun to see them rehearse. Because occasionally I sneak in just a few minutes on the way out or something, just to see what they're doing. But usually I just see the end result.
Yeah, I was gonna say I usually just sit back and oh, that was spectacular. That was okay. That kind of thing.
The two guys from the Muppets.
Yeah.
Great. That was okay.
Was the worst.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing.
No, I have a film I was working on there where part of it was going to take place in a theater, and I did this in one of my films before, where some of it took place. It was a flashback scene that took place. So we built a set on a TV studio, so it was like this fake kind of set. It was kind of cool, but we shot it like a film on that set. But this one, I really wanted to stage it like a play, and so I have this current day thing, and again, once a flashback, but really do it. We have a black box theater, so I want to try and figure out. I was going to do it over the summer, but they just redid it. I'm trying to figure out their schedule, so to find a couple of days where I could do it to direct like a theater thing. Mm-hmm. Again, it would only be a couple of minutes long. I couldn't imagine doing like a 2-hour thing there.
What was that Lars von Trier thing when he did it on the black?
Yeah,
box?
Sure. That was.
Was it Dogville?
Yeah, Dogville with Nicole Kidman.
Oh my God, that was It was Did you see that?
No.
It was torture to watch. But there's a huge payoff at the end. So you have to suffer for 2 hours to get that one.
I'm a fan of his.
I am too, because I know something's coming.
Yeah.
But you go like, this person is just being treated in such a horrible way, and you just keep going through.
He's one of those filmmakers. He's just so crazy. And I just use crazy because I don't know what else to say. Like Nymphomaniac, I had no desire to see. I think I watched a bit of it, and I was like, I don't know.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. But boy, he... when he's on, he's just... But he hasn't done anything, and he had a whole thing with Hitler at the Cannes Film Festival.
That's right.
So, all of his money...
He got in trouble.
He got in trouble, so it's, can you just calm down and make films? I just want to... sometimes I just want to slap some artist and say, can you just do the thing?
You said something silly, whatever, and everybody got. I don't know what he said. I forget. I know it was a big deal. Now that you said that, I remember that. Everybody ganged up on it.
There's nothing funny. Nothing.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing good is gonna come of this. You're fine. You're eccentric. You're out there. We love your talent. Just be that person. I don't know.
Even what's the one with Bjork?
Dance with the Dark.
Yeah. I mean, who makes a musical tragedy?
The movie was brilliant. I used to scream that in class, and students...
No, I did too. They would cry. Everybody would
cry. Yeah. And then some of them would say, I don't understand that movie. I was like, what didn't you understand?
Yeah.
Was she really dancing and singing? And I was like, I don't know. Did you think she was? I thought she was. Well, then that's good. It doesn't have to be an answer. It doesn't have to be. And again, this goes back to needing instruction, It's like, it's okay to just kind of... it's funny, when I studied film at Montclair State, I didn't have Michael Soporin as for Film
That's
1.
Right.
He was on sabbatical. This guy, Darryl Wilson, who I've never looked up since then. And he was like more of a, I remember he was like,
free range filmmaking.
Shoot the sky, shoot your feet. And I was like, okay. So I guess that's kind of how it should be. It's funny because I started making films that were very narrative based, like, this and that. When I went to film school, it was, I interpreted them as like your story has to like have a real hard story to it. And I made those kind of films. Then I kind of moved more to the one I was talking about, where it's like, okay, the flashback is going to be on a set, and you're either going to get it or you're not, and kind of playing around with that. It's funny, I have a student who's now in a grad program, and he's running into some problems because he is a cinematographer, and he wants to do like some cinematography as a thesis film, but they're requiring him to do something more narrative based, and I was trying to help him kind of frame an argument that, making expressionistic visual stuff is what film is, and that, you can tell a story that doesn't have somebody saying, oh my God, somebody stole our car, we have to get it, and then it's plot after plot after plot after plot, and then we do or don't get the film at the end, or the car at the end. Like
I don't know, that's at your school?
No, it's an unnamed school.
Okay,
right?
Unnamed school. So a lot of times they don't have a program that's a cinematography program, but they're in the smaller places, everything's mixed in, and depends who's on your committee. So they might not get that editing is art form in itself. Lighting is
right.
That's not even in the book. Well, you just lit it. You didn't do anything. I'm like, that's idiotic critique. Like, that's what he's supposed to do.
And so I was telling him that it's his job then to educate them, to let them know where and how his creative vision is going to go. And I said, always, and one thing when I went to law school, you learned, like, use your opponent's words against them. So tell them, this is what I learned here. This is the voice I developed here. You want me to be expressed. You want us to be individuals. All this is what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly what you want. Because it's kind of hard to say, you're an idiot when in fact you're doing exactly what I told you to do. You kind of get them on board. But it goes back to this thing of, regimented film and just story, and kind of more expressionistic stuff. And it's funny, I think, kids with Instagram and, speaking that visual language, even with emojis and stuff, we're kind of moving back to that, where I can show you a series of images and you'll know what I mean, and I don't necessarily have to have words.
I saw it in Egypt when you walk in a pyramid and they have those pictures.
Is that how they communicated? They use that?
We're going back.
They did that? I thought they just wrote things out. Right? Yeah, we're going back to pictures on the wall.
Yeah, but Jamie can translate those things.
The hieroglyphics, you can?
She speaks it, or she reads it, whatever you want to call it.
Shut up! Does she really?
Serious. She studied on her own.
Shut up!
She did. Yeah. We went to.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not joking. Okay. She even took some classes online, like a University of Manchester, whatever that kind of thing.
They're actually, it's actually an alphabet. It's not pure pictograms. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, she can write and tell you what it says.
So it's not
right.
Yeah.
Pictures.
I mean, it is
pictures,
but
the letter A is a picture.
Yeah,
but it's a.
But it is an
A. It's a symbol of what.
Is
it a sound? Is it a phonics thing?
Well, no one knows what it sounded like.
Oh, really?
I don't think anyone knows what it sounded like.
That's true. How would we? They just unearthed a tape recorder. It's a reel to reel. It's an Egyptian reel to reel.
They might figure out because, like Shakespeare, they figured out what he sounded like based on his rhymes.
Really?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, there's an island, I think it's off South Carolina, where they think that's where people with his accent, because it's a very insular island, that's where they speak.
Really?
Well, they speak in that
part of
accent.
the accents.
Yeah.
Where it came from, like the South.
Yeah.
A lot of that came from the lowlands of Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. And so they have figured it out. You can watch on YouTube.
On YouTube, right?
You can watch people doing it in what they think the original accent was.
Well, it's funny because this is in South Carolina.
I think it's south. It's off. I think it's off one of the Carolinas.
Because I'm thinking in South Carolina you have a Gullah language, which was the African slave language in Senegal, and those are the folks who probably speak the language and have kept a lot of the traditions from that time, that the Low Country there, and kind of these little pockets of kind of where
because they were isolated enough.
Yeah,
they didn't water it down.
Yeah, they didn't pick up on all of this.
But I figured that might be one way you could figure it out if you find Egyptian poetry, maybe, or through the Rosetta Stone, since that did the translation. That might give you a hint.
Its sound is not going to be the same.
I don't know. Sounds to me like you have some work to do.
Yeah, really.
I was going to say, you're going to go on a sabbatical.
No, but I do know a friend who's a linguist
who can
that I might be able to ask.
Well, I met, and don't forget, I met John McWhorter.
Oh, that's right.
Who is a
you could give me his number, right?
Very famous, professor, linguistics professor, who probably might have. And it's funny, I don't know the guy, but I'm sure somebody could help us figure out kind of where you're going with like where the language is and what it would sound like.
Well, there's a lot of connection because they know where people came when they moved, like New England accent, where it comes from, being connected, because it depends which area of whatever Great Britain, I guess, where they came from, and Scottish, who ended up south, and so on. And actually, that also brought the customs and the behavior and traditions and all that stuff. Right. Now, of course, molds and changes. But they know where stuff kind of comes from.
Well, it's funny when you growing up here in New Jersey around a lot of Italian Americans, and when I grew up, there were a lot of Italian American folks. And you kind of hear this goes back to the Jersey boys.
Yeah, I would call them American Italians.
Well, it's funny because you think about who we were talking about this before, who left those countries to come here. It wasn't the rich people
why would they
with
leave?
the perfect language. No. It was a lot of folks who were, the poorer folks, who were the less educated folks, and so it's kind of that, and not recognizing that that's your trend, that's your tradition,
right? Because I've heard that's how Cavatelli became
Cavatel, right? And mozzarella, right? You go to Italy, they pronounce the last letter,
because that's mozzarella, but because they have so many dialects,
right?
So they had to choose which one's going to be official when they're all unified, right? Which they went with, like, what would Dante do? What did it's like that's where we're going to go.
But when you have a lot of the from what I understand, the poorer folks from the south of Italy, and we're talking about, came here, that became the language they brought.
And it changed once they were here.
Well,
too.
but
it came from that.
But then that becomes like, this is Italian.
Yeah.
This is
and
what you
really,
do. Yeah.
It's really not.
And it's like, well, no, that's a part of it. It's like when you go down south and you hear, black folks talk and say, I'm fitting to, and kind of this language and stuff. And when you're here, it just sounds odd because it's a different dialect.
But that also can be traced to those Scottish and lowland.
Sure, right.
Because that's where they picked it up from.
Yeah.
So it's funny how that became like when they moved, New York coming east, that became like an urban black language. Yeah. But
it goes
a
back
lot of it
to,
goes back down to south, and then goes back
to Scotland, right? Goes back to
even how there's like, wheeze and all that stuff, like that all comes from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a linguist, but I read some of the stuff. It was like, oh, that's interesting how that connects, and where would you learn that from? You learned it there, and then when you moved, you brought that with you. And
I teach a class, and I kind of explain this to my students so they have at least a better feeling for the interconnectedness of their group, like every immigrant
group,
have
to teach you
or the descendants of slaves as they come here. And one of the things we don't do is rarely do families tell the hardship of what their family went through. I went to a friend invited me to a Passover Seder, and I had never been before. It was Judy Dennis. It was fun. I had dreadlocks, and so I had to put a yarmulke on top of my dread. That became fun, and I shared
That's a challenge.
The most lovely family, and this is one of the, I think about this experience. It's one of the most moving experiences of my life, where I got to hear what was the Jewish tradition and the history and the sharing of it and how it gets passed down. And I remember there was no black family tradition other than, grandma did this, but there was no speaking of, going way back to a descendant of a slave or to a slave, this kind of history of where we came from. It was as if, our history kind of existed within this little thing. And it's almost like a shame to it. It's like if you grew up an immigrant and
cut
poor,
off at one point.
yeah, it's like, well, no, that's not me. I'm now educated. I don't want to talk about my grandparents who just came here.
You
because
just want them to speak English.
Yeah. Right. I can imagine what it must be like to a kid who speaks English, whose parents don't speak English or don't speak it well at home, and how embarrassed they must feel. At school or somewhere, and there's this feeling that you don't speak English, you're not educated. Right? Yeah. So, what was that like for you?
It was fun.
So you're different. I was going to say again, if you have a certain amount of self-confidence,
you can have a conversation with my mother. Obviously, did you meet my mom?
I don't know if I've ever met your mom. Now I'm thinking.
You definitely met my mom. But she'll screw up certain things. But she's been here for a certain amount of time. But when we first moved here, she obviously had to learn a new language. Yeah. So it was okay. And being older, it's going to be difficult for some people. So there's that. But speaking of backgrounds, remember we worked on that film? And I brought pig feet for the whole crew.
Yeah. I told you the other day. I was talking about you in class. It was pig's feet and chitlins and fatback.
And I'm trying to explain to them that people don't. It's a shame that, especially in the U.S., you don't teach the world history, how everything is connected, and how you have more in common sometimes with people that you think you have nothing in common.
That was exactly what I was explaining in class. Fatback.
I just brought all that stuff in, and they didn't believe me. I'm sure they showed up the next day. What the hell
is Boris talking about? How does he know? Right, for black people, this is black. What are you doing? Who is this guy with the accent? How could he possibly know? And it's because we have no understanding. We're not taught anything about how other people.
You have a lot of similarities because if you're, what is the difference between going back? What do you leave to the slave in the field or the serf in the field? Right. The crappiest pieces of meat, the stuff that no one wants.
Nobody wants.
Get that. You got to make the best of it.
Right.
And in that way, there's a lot of similarities in the background between. Who was on that crew, I forget the name of those people. And they didn't believe anything I was telling them. I'm getting a history lesson. But I said, okay, my grandmother used to make it. My mother knows how to make it. It's not like she makes it on a daily basis, but she knows how to do it. And I brought back this giant pot of pig's feet.
And it was like, wow, what is this? Right. And I was telling this story to my students and there were just a couple of black students in there who were smiling. The rest of the kids,
they had no idea
most of the white kids, Latino kids, they don't know about it. There was one kid who, and I don't know where this kid was from, who when I said, who's heard of pig's feet? And the kid looked around he's and I was like, and I'm reading the name and I'm doing the attendance trying to figure out where is he from that he knew this, but I remember he's like, yes, I know all about it, and it was he just kind of slumped back down I guess I need to just keep that to myself.
And everybody else is going, you never heard of Ed McMuffin?
Yeah, what is that? Let me tell you, the first pig's foot I ever had. Wow, that was it. Yeah.
And fatback, what I called my grandmother was with my grandma's cousin, but she was the closest, to us. She had pigs and all that stuff, and they would slaughter a pig and make sausages, all that, and she would bring this giant container of fatback. I mean, heart attack in a square heart attack.
Just eat it and
it's
just count the
minutes. A little
bit
of skin on top and just fried fat.
Fried fat.
And then on top, I don't know if that's the same thing that you would do here, but we used to dip it in salt to make it even better. And you just eat it. It's like, it's disgusting.
No. It's when I lived in Chicago, there was a local supermarket. And they had ads on the radio, and they would advertise different types of chitlins. And I'm like, chitlins? I think this is a radio. This is where am I? This is
where's your market?
And I realized it's because there were so many folks from the South who I lived in the South Side of Chicago, and there were a lot of black folks who still lived there, who still had that tradition, and that was just what folks ate. And it's like you go to different parts of the country and people eat different types of food, and it was just odd because that to me was something that our family didn't have, but I knew black families did, but those are usually black families who still had a connection to somebody from the South.
Yeah.
I didn't. So to me, that was just something some Southern, we ain't from the South.
We're from New Jersey.
We're from New Jersey. Hey, we're from Belleville, right? And that was just So to be in Chicago and listen to a radio, it's like, we have chitlins in this. I remember thinking, where the hell am I? Like, I'm in Chicago, it's the big city, but...
I had a Mike Cousin Vinny moment years ago. I think it was for a couple of years, whatever. So it's still fresh. Yeah. I would go to Georgia. And it was like Joe Pesci. I went in, it's like diner. The cook, it was like chef from South Park. And it was a big man, was making... And they had grits. And I had no idea what grits were.
You had no idea what grits were.
So I'm like, oh, everybody else had it. So I'm like, okay. And I felt like Joe Pesci going, what's a grit? No idea what it was. Yeah. But I'm like, everyone else is eating it, so I go along, when in Rome. Yeah.
Put butter on it, cheese on it, a lot of salt.
It was floating in butter. It was just like, okay, I guess we'll eat that.
Do that, just do that, yeah. That used to be the thing. Used to do that. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's been any movies. I didn't see Green Book. No, I'm not going to. I have no desire to.
I just rewatched The Driving Mistake.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, like what we're talking about. I'm trying to think. I was telling my students that the world, because of the different streaming services, all these companies are now trying to figure out, they don't need the 40 million people that watch Seinfeld or Friends or Cosby Show at the time or something. They just need a few thousand or 100,000 or so. And if they put enough money, there's this balance that's going to be made that if they can just narrowcast it. So, I don't know what your story is or what your group is or what your community is, but if you told the story there, you might be able to find, outside of you producing it yourself and putting it on YouTube, you might certainly, with all these streaming services, now more than ever, I could see a world where a student of mine who worked hard could produce something that ends up somewhere. And that wasn't always true. No. It wasn't always true. And it's exciting that we're at this time. I may have no interest in it. In fact, I may not even know about that community. Right. But there's enough people in that community, especially when you're streaming it on your device and doing different things,
There's tons of specialty streaming services.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly we have all of that stuff.
Yeah, the access is much easier. The problem is that there's so much of it.
There's so much.
So how do you find anything?
Well, we go back to this. I'm sitting there. What do I do?
A million channels.
Yeah. Do you look at things on Twitch at all? Does Twitch produce? I know nothing about Twitch.
No, I don't.
Nothing about Twitch.
I stopped watching it. I really watch almost nothing.
Yeah. Well, I started watching more YouTube videos just so I could. At some point I just felt like, okay, I'm out of the loop. I'm not going to know what my students know, but I at least want to be able to say, I don't watch that one, but I watch this one, Yeah.
I was born out of the loop. So I have no idea what's going on.
You gotta watch my man. I think his name is Louis Rossman. When he fixes those motherboards, man. And he sits there. He did this one thing where he destroyed a chip on a MacBook and then sent somebody to Best Buy to see if they could fix it. And so it's like, because he hates that nobody cares about how things are fixed. Mm-hmm. He hates that Apple makes things in a particular way. Yeah.
And they're the first ones to complain about the environment. I'm like, you're creating disposable products. They stop supporting iPhone 5.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the phone. You can use. Oh, well, you can't do anything with it.
No. Yeah. No, he's like, the APP isn't sitting to connect it to this, and we all know that the USB is coming through the PDQ by internet, and I have no idea what he's talking about. And then he puts the thing down. Let's see how many volts we have, and there's got a volt thing that pops up, and I'm like, ooh, I hope there's some volts. And I go, and he touches it, and it's 0. And I'm like, there's nothing there. He's like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Let's see if it's over here. And then, boom, it goes to 0.3. And I'm like, there's something there. And I have no idea what this... I know what a volt is. I generally know, but he tells me. And I'm sitting there going, this is fascinating to me. So I can't laugh. We laugh at the makeup tutorials,
Oh, Jamie watches some dude
I was going to say,
and she buys his makeup.
Yeah, I'm thinking, forget it. If I could sit there and watch some idiot deal with it, I get it. I completely understand.
I should start a makeup channel. Just look randomly.
Well, it's funny. Do you teach that in school? Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to do something where we filmed, where we made like those tasty videos, those overhead camera of the food prep things.
That kid's doing podcasts and some of the audio.
Yeah. But I like to produce like specialty stuff. I mean, we're still doing like, okay, this is the switcher. We're working at a TV station. You know, our TV room. There's 12 people sitting with all of the switches, doing all of this kind of stuff. And I look at that and I go, man, you guys got maybe 10 years.
If that. No, it's less than.
Yeah,
way less.
Maybe that. I don't know how many more people. Because if I own a big company and some guy comes in and says, we got robots. I'm like, whoa, really? No overtime with the robots. You know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work it out.
2-day delivery.
That's it. I'm going to work that thing out. So, yeah, it's fascinating to be alive, but it just, I feel like everything is going to change. And as an educational facility, we're just going to be kind of left behind, and I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, other than, again, students coming and having teachers who inspire them. That's something you're not going to get taking an online
Well,
course.
it's an institution.
You know.
University's way past its... It's a 17th century.
Yeah.
Like used to be, we have a library. All the books are there. Well, everything's on your phone now.
It's so funny, right? Right. So I'm looking at colleges for my kid, and right, they always say that. You know, we have a 20,000 stacked periodicals. And I'm like, who cares?
You can get that online in 2 minutes.
What does that matter? You know, I want the school that says we realize we don't need a library, or our library literally is this tiny little place here. And they have some stuff, but we have this really, really fast internet connection. We have this room with this giant pipe that comes in that's instantaneous, you know? You know, but it's like you God forbid you're a university and you say, you know, we don't need a library. And libraries are trying to transition into some other places, more of a community service and those kind of things, which in some communities, you know, they play a vital role, but in others...
It's not like you don't need it, but it's not what it used...
It's not what it used to be. There's no microfiche. You remember this? You used to have to go microfiche.
That's how we should do research.
Sure. Hell, I remember having to go watch a VHS. They had the little booth set up.
You
and
get the card. You
put the thing in there, and you sit there because you couldn't watch it in class, and you sat there and watched it. Now I tell my students, you know, like, hey, here's the list of the movies that we're going to see. You can find them. Professor, where do we find them? Don't ask me. What are you asking me for? I'm 52. You can't find this, and don't give me the I can't find it. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Just I gave you the right title. You go find it. And that's it. It used to be a problem. Now I don't hear anything from anybody.
Yeah, it's silly to even say that. You can't find it. Get out of here.
No.
You're not looking. That's what you say.
Come on. I refuse to believe a college-age student can't find any movie online. If you don't find a friend, you know. But I'm not going to change.
I don't think they want. They might not want to.
Yeah.
A lot of my students,
because they're honest.
They'll like call me over and they'll be like, "How long is the Amazon River?" I'm like, it's something stupid.
You would know that.
Like, I don't know that. Why don't you look it up? It's right in front. You know, you have access to the repository of all human knowledge in front of you. Never mind.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. It's right there.
Leave me alone, old man.
They could just type it.
Leave me alone. Get off my cloud, old man. Gee.
But then I'll go over and I'll look that up because I want to know now.
Yeah. Now I got this nagging.
Who's going to remember that?
Right. I'm going to say, Alexa, how long is the Amazon River? There you go.
Well, we couldn't hear it, but
4,200 miles long. There you
try to swim that.
That's right. Boom. And she asked me if I needed to know anything else. No, thank you. There, see?
Did you ask her how Siri's doing?
That's it, yeah. I don't know.
They start fighting.
Yeah.
But that's it. So, I got nothing.
All right. Well, it did almost 2 hours again.
Good.
So
okay.
That's good. Hopefully the audio worked this time.
This was fun. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Good luck. I like your pocket square. Very good. I like your T-shirt. The periodic table of elements.
Yeah.
Right,
is there a new one there?
Isn't there a new one? There is a one.
What was that? The one with
like Pluto? There isn't one.
No,
wasn't one downgraded to the.
What's the name? Lazar, Area 51. They claimed it was an element that they used, and then somebody discovered it recently. It actually exists, but I forget what it was.
I don't know.
What do you teach? You teach
tech
stuff, right? You don't teach science.
No.
Okay.
Fake science.
I dabble.
Do you?
Yeah.
I never took chemistry. I don't know anything about it. I'm fascinated by it, and I'm happy people like it.
My dad's a chemist, but
is he really?
I know nothing.
Wow. Did you have Bunsen burners in the house? That's about all I know about chemistry.
He was in flavors and fragrances.
Really?
And
Really?
he used to
Did he work
brew
for
stuff up in the garage.
Who did he work for?
A bunch of companies.
There's a bunch of flavoring companies here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He worked for a
It's
bunch
huge,
of them.
huge industry. I mean, this is like the heart of it is here, right? Yeah.
So he'd always have like knockoff perfumes. And stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine was involved in that. I'm trying to think where. Would have been somebody I went to school with who, and I had no idea that people did this.
Oh yeah.
Did he use you as a test, guinea pig for like flavors?
I knew better than that, but one time my friend came over and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" My dad's like, "Oh, I'm making like a concentrated lemon flavor for drinks." And my friend's like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, you want to try it?" And I was like, "No." My friend's like, "I don't know, I'll try it." So he
so it's probably tense.
It's like, it's kind of better.
Yeah, a little bit. I said concentrated. Yeah.
And my dad's like, "Yeah, it might be a little better."
Yeah.
On that note.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris.